Okay, we're live right now. Alright. I'm going to wait until 5 p.m. to officially start. Alright, guys? So, in the meanwhile, I'll be back to get some water. I'm back. That was quick. Alright. Alright, so while we're waiting, what I think I'll do is at around 4:55, I'll start explaining or like reiterating upon what we did last week because um, you know, with a week off, like it's almost been 2 weeks since I've taught, right? So obviously I think it'd be best if we did a refresher. That way we can because last week's information is going to be really important for what we're going to do today. Today we're going to be doing some coding questions. For instance, like the CCC junior questions. We're going to be doing those questions today, and so it's important that we reiterate upon what we did last week, just so that we're able to use those types of data structures for this week. All right. So one more minute, and I think I'll do like a quick refresher. All right. Well, it's 4:55, so what I'll do right now is I'll open my text editor and I'll basically show you guys what we did last time, which was working with arrays. And so last time we learned about arrays, and so there's this kind of like data structure which can hold lots of a single data type. So for instance, we learned about int data types, right? So let's call our int data type. We're gonna assign the variable name var and make sure it's an int, right? Well, what if we want to have a collection of ints that we want to associate together? For instance, we have a list of people's ages, right? Well, it'd be really troublesome to just define a single variable for every single person's age, right? And it'd be really hard to keep track of those ages and put them together, right? Actually why we learned about the array data structure because they solve that issue and they're able to make it so that you're able to hold data together. Basically, you're able to create an array, which is kind of like a list of values, right? And you're able to access the data from that list by going through and calling the index of that array. And so the index in this case will represent the space at which, in our case, because we have ages, what age is at which place. And so if we were at index 0, we'd start at the very start of the array. So what I'm going to do right now is show the general way to create an array. So we specify the data type of array we want to create. So for instance, we want to create an int array for age. Afterwards, we would specify the name of the name of the array, right? And ages and equals. And then we use the new keyword to tell it that we're creating a new int array. And so then we follow the same convention, except right here in these brackets, we want to indicate how long we want our array to be. Basically, how many values we want to have in an array. And this is really important because with an array, you cannot resize it. That means if you specify that the array contains 5 elements, well, it can only contain 5 elements. It can't contain anything more than that. If it does, then because you can't do that because of the way the memory is allocated, right? If you wanted to add another element to an array which is already full, what you'd have to do is create an entirely new array, right? Then specify the size of that, and then add elements to that one until you can't, right? But it's just important to know that you can't resize arrays. You can with some other data structures, but not with arrays. So let's say we want to create an array of 3. So you can see that we've created this array right here, and it'll contain all the indexes from 0 to 3, effectively allowing to store that many that many values inside of it, that many ints. So I hope that makes sense for you, and hopefully what you've did is that you've played around with it in the last week or two so that you could gain some proficiency with it and be more comfortable with it. But if you didn't, that's alright, because that's what we're going to be doing today with the coding problems, because some of them are going to be using the array. But as a quick refresher, let's try creating an array. Again, ages, so let's say we get rid of this. Let's say we have an array, right? And I want you guys to try this out yourself. Say you have an array of ages, right? But you want to print out the age at the 0 index. Basically, print out the first age. I want you guys to write out the code for that so that when you're able to only print out the value at the 0th index, okay, in an array. So I want you guys to try that out right now, okay? While we still have some time before we get into the main things of today. I just want to make sure you guys still remember. Oh, Spectrum. Hey, yeah. The app I'm using, this is a text editor called Visual Studio. It's what I'm using, but you can just continue to use Replit if you feel you're more comfortable with that. Yeah, you can use Replit. It's the same thing. It's just I'm using this to edit so then it's on my machine, not on the cloud. So yeah, but you can just do the same thing as before and create a new Java Replit. You can work, but just because I prefer using Visual Studio Code more, I'm going to be using this instead. All right, but it's like the same thing, so don't worry about it. Well, it's not the same thing, but you can still write your code in Rebel, okay? So you can do that, or you can get a text editor. But yeah, so yeah, just try creating an array of ints and then return the 0th index of the array, all right? Yeah, it's Visual Studio Code. Uh, there's some other text editors like Sublime. I heard that one's pretty good, although I haven't used it much. Um, but if you're interested in text editors, I'd say probably just go with Visual Studio. It's probably like the easiest to work with. Although if you want to create a virtual environment, I'd recommend Eclipse, which is also quite good. But in order to use Visual Studio, you have to download the Java, download Java on your computer. So there should be some tutorials for that online. Or if you want, I can like show you guys afterwards, which is cool too. All right. So yeah, basically when you're done with that little mini assignment I gave you, just tell me it's okay. I think I'll give you guys till 5:05 to do it, all right? Alright, so if you guys need some help, I'll show you right now. So let's say we want to create an int array called array, a very, very unique name. Most original thing I've ever saw. But anyways, okay, let's create an array and we'll list some values inside of it. Let's say we want 12, 56, 49, 9, and 3. So this is our array. So if we want to print out the 0th index of the array, what we would do is that we would say system.out.println, which is our print statement, if you recall. We've been working with that a lot. And then we would say array, and then we use these square brackets, and inside we put in the index we want to find. So we want to find 12, which is the first, right? So we used 0 since we want to find the 0th index, aka the first value. And so what I'll do right now is I'll run it through my command prompt. Okay, cd. Alright, and then we'll run it right now. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be Java main.java, not Java. Oh, hold on, I didn't save it. My bad, guys. Anyways, yeah, so Java main.java. Oh, I forgot this semicolon here. Yeah, you need to have the semicolon. Java main.java. And see, as you can see, it gives me the value 12, which as you can see is the number at the 0th index. Okay, Ali's done. That's great. Nice one, Ali. Let's see. Alright, I think that was enough time. So what I'll do now is I'll start with the first question we're working on today. And the first question we're working on today is called special day, right here. So the problem goes as specified. February 18th is a special date for the CCC this year. Write a program that asks the user for a numerical month on the numerical day of the month, and then determines whether that date occurs before, after, or on February 18th. Alright, so we want to know if the date that the user gives us is before, after, or is February 18th. Alright, so we know that so far. If the date occurs before February 18th, we want to print out the word before. And if it occurs after February 18th, we want to output the word after. And finally, if the date is February 18th, then we would output the word special, indicating that it is February 18th. All right, so let's read through the input specifications. So the input consists of 2 integers, each on a separate line, all right? And these integers will represent a date in 2015. The first line will contain the month, and will be an integer from 1 to 12, right? Because you can't have, there's no such thing as a 13th month. There's only 12 months in a year. All right, and then the second line will contain the day of each month, which will be an integer in the range from 1 to 31, because there can't be more than 31 days. 31 days is the max. Okay, and you can assume that the day of the month will be valid for the given month. So we don't have to worry about someone inputting like 62 days, right? 62 days in a month, because we're assuming that the input they're given is valid, right? So what we'll do right now is we'll look through the sample input and see, okay, so 1, 7. So we know that the first integer inputted is the month, and then the second one is the day of the month. So 1, 7, that would give us January 7th, right? And so because January 7th is before February 18th, we would output before. Okay, now we have 8/31, so August 31st. Well, August 31st is after February, right? Keep in mind, we're assuming that these are all in the same year, so it's all 2015, right? So August 31st, that comes after February 18th, 2015, right? So we would output after. And then the same goes here. Since it's February 18th, we output special. So let's start right now by first of all importing the scanner package because we need that to get the user input. So we'll say import java.util.scanner semicolon, and this will import our java.util.scanner package, which will allow us to use the scanner object. Alright, and next, inside of our main class, we will create a scanner object. And you can name your scanner object anything, but I'm going to name mine scan. So scanner scan, this is the name of the object. Scanner scan will equal a new scanner. And then in the parameters for the scanner object, we'll have system.in, which means we're taking in input. Alright, now let's create two integers because we're taking in an input of month and day. So what I'll do is I'll create an integer variable called month, and that will be equal to scan.next int. So I'll be taking in an int from the scanner, and then I'll also take in day. It's the same thing. All right. So now I've done that. What we're going to use is we're going to use a couple of if statements to determine whether it is a special day. Okay. So the problem has already listed out the conditions, right? So what I want you guys to do right now is to try and do this question yourself with the if and else statements. And I'll give everyone until 5:15 to think about it, and afterwards I'll start officially working on the problem, okay? All right. So, yeah, and if you're done, just input it into here, into the chat if you're done. But if you do have any questions at any time, just type your question in the chat and I can help resolve it. And if you guys think that this question is too easy or anything that was too hard or if it's just right, also let me know, okay? Because if you're doing a question that's way too hard for you, then it's probably not the best question to do. You want to get a question that tests you, that tests your capability, but you don't want to be completely lost. All right, 4 more minutes, okay. I'll also just show you guys how to write the if statement again if you forgot. So we have if, and then we have our condition inside of these brackets, and then these curly braces to specify what we do if this condition is true. And even if it does not satisfy the condition, if the condition is false, then we move on to an else statement, which you don't have to add, but you can add here. Oh, can I see your code? I need a copy. Yeah, no problem. So this is the code I have here so far, and now we're going to work. I'm going to give you guys, a couple minutes to try attempting this problem yourself. All right. So I'll add the comment right here. So uh, we have our month and day, right? And so if we're going to take these and it's going to tell us the day in a particular year, right? And we want to output whether it's before January 18th, sorry, if it's before February 18th, after February 18th, or is on February 18th, all right? So that's basically what we want to do. Does that make sense? Okay, Ali's done. Yep, that's good. I'll give everyone 3 more minutes. I think 3 minutes should be good. And if your school does offer the CCC, I would recommend you take it. If you just started coding, then probably take the junior one. But if you can do the J1 through J5 or even just J4 fairly well, you can attempt the senior questions. I'd say that the senior questions are a considerable amount harder than the junior questions. For instance, like a senior level question, the first senior level question, the easiest one would probably be equivalent to like a J4 or J5. Um, but I have faith in you guys. I think you guys should be able to progress pretty quickly. All right. So it's almost 5:15. Tell me if you need more time or if you want to see the solution because I'll just walk you guys through it. No, no, it's really good to just do a question to see all of your combined knowledge to come together. And it can be really fun to apply your skills to a question. At least I find. Because if you learn all that theory for nothing and you're not applying it to anything, then there's no point in learning it, right? The point of learning how to code is to apply it. And through doing these questions, while we're not applying it to any real life use cases, we're still applying it nonetheless, right? Solving these problems. Alright, so it's 5:15 right now. Since no one has told me they need any more time, I'm just going to assume that you guys understand the gist of the question, and what I'll do right now is I'll actually start coding it. Alright, so what I'll do right now is I'll start off by saying that looking at, first of all, we want to see if the month is equal to February, right? If the date is in February and if the day is the 18th, right? In which case we're going to print out the word special. So we'll say if month is equal to 2, right? Because January is the second month. And then we're going to use and to specify that we want both these conditions to be true. If only one of them is true, then we won't print out special, okay? So if month is equal to 2 and day is equal to 18, then we'll do system.out.print line, and then we'll print out the string special. But we're going to add an else if statement. So also if the month is smaller than 2, right? If the month is smaller than 2, then we basically know that, all right, it's before, right? It's before February 18th. Or the day is or so that, and or the month is smaller. So we can also find ourselves in the situation where we're in February, right? But we haven't gotten to February 18th yet. Right now we want to specify this in our else if statement. This entire line is just basically telling it to see if we're before January, all right? So if the month is equal to 2 and the day is smaller than 18, well, then we know that to print out before, right? And then if it's not before February 18th, and if it's not February 18th, then there's only one other possibility, and that's that it's after. So we'll print out going to print out after, because we don't have to use another if statement because there's only 3 possible options and we already used 2, so we'll just use us. Alright, what I'll do right now is I'll take the input, the sample input, and see if it matches right now. So let's run this. So java main.java, and if you are using REPL, then you just have to press run. You don't have to work through the command prompt. Alright, so oh, we forgot the semicolon. Yeah, that can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but it's a very small error which is easily fixable. So let's go back and let's run it again. Alright, so January 7th, and oh, what do you know? It is before, so our program works on that input. Now let's try it with the other input. Let's try it out with August 31st. Let's see if that works. So java main.java. Okay, now let's say it's 8:31. So August 31st, and so August 31st, 2015 is after February 18th, 2015. Alright, now let's work with the other one. So what if it is on February 18th? Well, it just print out special to 18, and it works. It prints out special, alright? So I think we can say that our code works. And so what you can also do actually is I'm using the University of Waterloo's contest submission site, where I'm basically just submitting my code, and then it automatically runs through the test cases and telling me if it's correct or if I got the test case wrong. I'm assuming that most of you guys don't have this, uh, but I think there should be other websites where you can run your code through test cases, like something dmoj.com or something. But yeah, if your teacher, if your school does have these CCC events, then I highly recommend that you go to your teacher and ask for an account so that you could run it through these test cases. But if you're in an elementary school, then they probably won't have it. Junior high, they probably will, but yeah, elementary, I don't think the chances are high that you're taking the CCC in elementary. It's junior high students and high school students. But alright, so we finished the first question. Now let's move on to the second question, which is called happy or sad. Alright, so the question goes as follows. We often include emoticons in our text messages to indicate how we are feeling. The 3 consecutive characters, colon, dash, bracket, indicate a happy face. And the 3 consecutive characters, colon, dash, and then the other bracket, indicate a sad face. So we want to write a program to determine the overall mood of a message. And so basically how the input will go, there will be a line of input that contains between 1 and 255 characters, right? And then the output is determined by the following. So we're going to see if the input line has any happy or sad emoticons. If there are none, then we will output none. Otherwise, if happy and sad emoticons, output unsure. So basically, take this message for example. Say we use this is our input. There's one happy emoticon and then there's one sad emoticon. Because the number of them are equal and not equal to 0, we can say that we're not sure how we're feeling. So we would output unsure. But let's say there was no sad face right here and there was only one happy face. In that case, we would be feeling happy because there's more happy faces than sad faces. And then if there's more sad faces than happy faces, we're feeling sad, all right? So that's basically how it works. Let's take a look at this first sample input. If we count it, we have 1, 2 happy faces and 1 sad face. So 2 is greater than 1, so obviously we have a happy face. We're feeling happy today. And then let's say our sample input contains 1 happy face. We would output None, because technically this isn't an emoticon. It does not contain this. Alright, with this one. So where the emoticons are actually in between the words and the characters. So let's see how, let's take a look at our emoticons right now. So we have one sad, another sad. We have another sad and one happy. So three sads, one happy, and we're feeling sad, alright? So, alright, let's start first of all. Okay, by working through this question, happy or sad. So, again, we have to import our scanner class to take in user input. Alright, let's see if you guys have any questions. Oh, you have an error. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Spectrum. Can you tell me your error? Can you tell me your error really quickly? I'll go back to the code right now. Here. Yeah, sorry about that. Your code should look something like this. You could probably use some other combination of if statements to reach the same result, but I think this is the easiest way. So yeah, just tell me the error that's going on and I can help you, okay? Alright, yeah, so if you're on Replit, tell me the error it shows on the console screen, so like on the black screen. Yeah, so just type out your issue and I'll work it. I'll work it out. It might be the case that you're missing a semicolon at the end of one of your calls to a function or call to a method. Or might be because you got something mixed up with the curly braces in your if statements. But yeah, tell me what's, oh, it says the S in scan. It cannot find the symbol. So is it in this S? What line does it say has the issue? What line does it say? If it cannot find the symbol, okay, that means that it probably doesn't recognize the object. So I want you to check your first line, which is the import java.util.scanner. Make sure that that's correct. Because if you don't correctly import the package, then you won't be able to use the scanner object. Cannot find the symbol. Yeah, so just let me know if it's okay and I'll move on. Okay, it's correct now? Alright, that's good. Yeah, you just have to be careful with when you're importing the packages. Because if you don't import it correctly, then you won't be able to use the actual scanner object, and that will, and because of that, the computer won't recognize the object you're trying to use. But all right, let's continue on. And so we were on the emoticon question. So what we want to do is we want to import our package, and then afterwards we're going to take in a string as input. So we're going to say string message will equal scan. Oh, we forgot to declare our scanner object first, my bad. So scanner, new scanner, and then system dot in. Tell them that we want to take in input, and then we're going to create, what is it? Yeah, we're going to be creating now our input message. So message will be equal to scan dot next line. Okay, and so what we're going to do is I'm going to use a loop to go through this, this message, right? Go through this string called message, and then we're going to look and then see look for colons in that message, right? And then we want to see that if there's a colon and then a dash and afterwards another bracket afterward, then we're going to register that as an emoticon. And we're going to actually create integers. So one, we're going to create happy, which is going to store the number of happy emoticons we find, and one called sad to store the number of sad emoticons we find. All right. So we'll do this. So we'll say for int I equal to 0, and then while I is smaller than message dot length -1, say I plus yeah. And so this will be our standard loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the substring method. So if message dot substring I and I plus 1. So what line is doing right here is we're going to look at the first character. So I think it'd be better if I drew it on the whiteboard. So let me add one. So say I have the word hello, and then I have an emoticon. Alright, so when I'm going through the loop, what I'm doing is I'm looking at every single character in the string by using the substring method. So let me just include this. Alright, so this is the 0th index, right? So if I want to look at H, what I would do is I'd say, okay, so I look at the substring 0 and 1 because that will give me the 0th character, and then I want to go, say I want to go to the next one, which is E. Well, then I'd go 1, substring 1, comma 2, and then I go the same thing afterwards. Substring 2, comma 3, substring 3, comma 4, all the way I get until the end of the string, right? But we don't know how long we don't know how long the string actually is, right? Which means we can't do it manually, right? And besides, if we had a very large input, then we'd have to like rewrite it every time, and that'd be very time inefficient. Instead, what we can do is we can use a loop to work through this question, and let the loop cycle through all of these characters within the string. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, Spectrum, could you copy and paste your code into the chat, please? Yeah, sorry about that. I thought I already resolved your issue, but if not, yeah, that's fine. Just copy and paste your code into the chat, and then I'll have a look at it. Yeah, but for the people who have already finished that last question, I think I'll give you guys this time to try working on this other question for now. So I want you guys to like see if you can count how many emoticons there are, count if they're sad and count if they're happy. Yeah, so Spectrum, if you could copy and paste your code into the chat, that would make it like a lot easier to debug. But everyone else, feel free to continue working on this question. And if you are done this J2 question, let me know by typing done in the chat. Okay, you sent to my Gmail. Alright, that's good. Alright, so I'll go to Gmail right now. Don't look at my password. Oh. So this one? Did you send to info at youth computing? I technically shouldn't be showing you this. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, lots of emails. But yeah, alright, let's see. While I'm working on that, yeah, you guys can work on that question. I think you guys get the gist of it. Just count how many happy emoticons there are and sad emoticons there are, and determine if the string is happy, sad, or sad. Okay. Okay. Input. Okay, so the reason why is because look over here. You defined your scanner object as input, right? So you created a new scanner object called input. But you called an object called scan. But the problem is you didn't create an object called scan, right? And because you didn't create anything called scan, then the computer is confused, right? I think what you meant to do is you meant to call it input.nextInt, right? The reason why I used scan is because this name of my scanner object is actually called scan, right? I defined it as scan, and so when I want to use this scanner to get user input, I have to call it by the correct name, right? So that was your mistake. You just have to you just have to rename it to input because you named your scanner as input. All right, does that make sense? Yeah, because I think other than that, let me take another look at it. Yeah, other than that, it looks perfectly fine. So yeah, I think that's the only issue. Other than that, it should be fine. Nice. It's cool. It's cool. All right, so just try switching the name. For instance, this line here and this line here, switch the scan to input, and it should be fine. Or what you could do is just change the name of your input, but you just have to make sure that when you're calling your object, that you have to use the same name as the object you want to call. That's the main thing, alright? Okay, alright, so I'll move on. And so, if anyone has finished J2, let me know, but if not, I'm going to start working on it. Happy or sad. Alright, so first thing we want to do is search in the code for colon. So we're going to say that if the substring is equal to uh, this full colon, then we're going to say that if message.substring I plus 1, or actually no, we don't even have to do this. We could just use one full substring, and instead of looking at the full character, we can basically just look at the character in its entirety. Sorry, mixed up my words there. So we'll go like this. And so if it's equals to the happy face, then we'll say happy is equal to happy plus 1. We're going to add 1 to the happy counter to record that we found a happy face. And we're going to say if the message dot substring I plus 3, because if you recall before, we're looking at 3 elements. So we want to look at 3 elements at once, not just H. We want to also look at H, E, and L. All right, 0, 1, and 2, right? 0, 1, and 2. So then we would say 0, 1, and 2, and then we look at 1 and 2 and 3, kind of like that. So that's that's why we use the substring method to basically look for it. That's much easier instead of like just using the individual characters. That's just overcomplicating the problem. So yeah, we're going to check if the message.substring is equal to this. And then the reason why we use I is because I will basically iterate through all of the indexes within the message. And so that means we're going to start at every single character and see that if it's equal to a smiley face. And that if it is, then we will record it as so. And if it's a sad face, then we'll say sad is equal to sad plus 1. I see this will record our happy and sad faces. So what I'm going to do right now is to see if it actually works. So if you guys are having, okay, just understand that as long as you have the correct name, like you're using the name you actually used for the object, then it'll be okay. It's just because you didn't create a scanner object called input. You called one class, right? You created an input. So you created a scanner object called scan, right? But you didn't actually create one called input. So then when you call to use the scanner input, then because you didn't create it, it's not going to work. So you have to have correct naming of your objects. That's all. All right, but okay, I'm going to test it out to see if it works right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this again. Okay, cd desktop, cd ccc, cd, what's it called? 2015 J2 p or sad, because that's what I called my folder. So we're going to run the main file here. Alright, so let's say we have, this is our string. Okay, we get 0 for some reason. How come it's 0? Alright, so if message on I++. If I plus 3 is equal to this, hold on, let's try this. See if it'll make a difference. Yeah, so java main.java. So I created my happy variable and my sad variable. Okay. So it must not registered as this. I'm going to try with a slightly larger one. So we iterate through the message. Each time we go to the next index. So okay, how about we just get rid of this? Yeah. Okay, yeah, but if anyone has done this question, let me know, and that way I can know if we can get to another question. But if we can't, that's okay too. We want to make sure we understand everything. Okay, so an error. Out of bounds exception. Okay, starts at 22 ends. So we do need this part. We know that. So Java main.java. So we have our smiley face and a bunch of different characters. Okay. Oh, I know why. Because we can't use this equal sign. Remember when I told you guys about the dot equals method? This double equal sign only works for primitive types. Because the string doesn't look at the value of it, it compares it to the address in memory, so where it's stored in memory. So because even though these like the characters are the same, right? The strings are the same, but because the addresses to memory are stored in different locations, it will only compare the locations, but we want to compare the values. So in order to do that, we have to use the dot equals method. My bad, rookie mistake. Yeah, such a simple mistake. How did I not catch that? Alright, but yeah, when you're comparing the direct value of strings, like you have to use the dot equals method. That's why it's important to know how memory works. Alright, it looks like no one has finished yet, so let's try it out again. Alright, so we got one happy face, one sad face, with 0 sad faces, so it works so far. Alright, so now we've counted our happy faces and sad faces, let's move on to the next part. Next, we want to see if it contains happy or sad. If it doesn't, we output none. So, as like we did in the previous question, let's go out and let's create ourselves an if statement. So, if there are no happy emoticons and no sad emoticons, we output none. And so luckily we have a counter to count the number of happy and emoticons and the number of sad emoticons. So we'll say if happy is equal to 0 and sad is equal to 0, we will say system.out print line, and then we will say none. But what else happens? What if happy is larger than sad? What if happy is larger? Well, if happy is larger than sad, we will go on to say happy. We are feeling happy that day, right? Because you're feeling more happy than sad. But, sorry, if you're feeling more sad than happy, then we'll say that we're feeling sad, okay? And the only other option is that we feel equally sad and equally happy, and in that case, we just don't know. So we'll use an else statement for that and print out unsure. Alright, and now let's try it out. Let's see if anyone has finished yet, right? So if you guys are having any trouble with it, I just wrote it out right here. It just uses the loop, the substring method, and a set of conditionals. So if you guys understand the code, or if you want me to go through it, a specific part you don't understand, let me know in the chat, okay? Or if you did it a different way, also let me know, because there's a lot of other ways to do it, I think. But this is the one that I think was the fastest for me to write. Alright, yeah, so that was pretty easy. Let's test it out now. Say we have this string, and then we have so it says that we are feeling happy, but that's not correct. We should be feeling unsure. Or is it because we had it at the end, maybe? Hold on, let me see if... Okay, so now, or now we know that it's something with our loop. That's the issue. It's not seeing the end here. So maybe if we... Okay, so message.line. Assuming a start. There. This should work. Unsure, yeah. See what was going on is that I forgot that the string length method is a bit different from the primitive length method. So it's already assuming that the length is at a minus. It was omitting like the last character. So if you had an emoticon as your ending your message, then it wouldn't be able to register, but now it does. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm gonna check here. Okay, so no one has any questions yet. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my this contest submission site, and I'm going to see if it works. So I'm gonna go choose my file here, and then I'm going to see if it passes all the test cases. So I just submitted it. This is my submitted code. Let's see if it works. Okay, so we got these ones all correct. That's good. Okay, so we got all of the tests correct. So all 8 tests we passed in 0.1 seconds. So that's pretty good. 15 out of 15 points. Alright, as usual, if you have any questions, I implore you to tell me, okay? And I want to know your guys' like current status on the question. If you guys are still working on it, let me know. Or if you're already done, type in the chat, please. Alright? That way I can determine if we go on to a harder question or an easier question next. Alright, I'm going to wait 1 more minute. Alright, but like tell me if you guys are done the question or not done the question, alright? Because uh I need to get like an idea of where you guys are so that I can understand the question difficulty to use. Well, I think the last 2 questions should be pretty good for you guys. Normally when you do a question, you want to find a question which is not easy for you to do. You want to find a question that will take you a while, like uh, probably a good question would take you around probably half an hour to do. I'd say if it's like under half an hour, then it's probably a bit too easy for you. So yeah, that's how I normally assess the difficulty of questions for myself. Alright, but I'm going to give everyone 1 more minute. It doesn't seem like you guys are answering my question. Alright, so please tell me if you guys thought that the question was hard, easy, because if not, I'm going to assume you guys got it pretty well, alright? Mm, guys thought of the question. Yeah, if it's not too hard, then I think we'll move on to a similar question right now. So, if you want, we can move on to the J3. Or if not, we can stay on J2 questions. It's really all up to you guys. I'm going to assume you guys want to stay on J2 because a J3 would not give us enough time. We only have 7 minutes left, so I'll look for a J2. how about magic squares? Okay, alright. So magic squares are square arrays of numbers that have the interesting property that the numbers in each column and in each row all add up to the same total. So given a 4 by 4 square of numbers, determine if it is a magic square. Okay, so we know that this one will add up to 29. Okay, so this one will add 25. Alright. So basically all of the rows and all of the columns have to add up to the same value. And this one uses something that we haven't worked on yet. But I think you guys, right? So this one adds up to 34. This one also adds up to 34. This one also adds up to 34. So yeah, basically all the rows and columns have to add up to the same. And we're actually going to use something new, which is called the 2D array. So let's create a new file, and we'll name it 2016. All right, so 2016 J2. Alright, so now we'll add a main.java file to it. And then I think we'll just copy this over because I don't want to have to rewrite the entire class for it. Okay. And so we're going to be taking in some input. Alright, so 4 by 4. So we're going to say for int I is equal to 0. I'm going to speed run this. Well, smaller than 4. We're going to, and basically this loop will make it so that we're going to be taking in the input for 4 different for the entire square. And so we'll also have to use a nested loop for this too. And j is equal to 0. J is smaller than 4. I plus. Okay, and so we actually have to create our array. So we're creating say grid int grid will be equal to a new 2D int array. So I just want to preface this really quickly by actually explaining what a 2D array is because I don't think we'll be able to get through this. But essentially, think of a normal array. In a normal array, you have, it's like just a singular list of data, right? But I want you guys to think of a 2D array kind of in the way of like a grid, where you have 2 arrays stacked up on each other. But instead of just looking at the index of only one array, you're looking at the indexes of multiple arrays, right? But the problem is you have to specify the index with 2 values. You can't specify with 1 value because then it won't know where it is. For instance, we have a 2D array which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 12 values, right? And we declare it to have 6 rows and 2 rows and 6 columns, right? What's gonna happen here is that if we tell it to go to the 0th index, it doesn't know where the 0th index is because when we say 0th index, we're telling it the 0th row, and this is the 0th row. But we don't know what value it is in this row, right? So it's basically you have 2 arrays put together, 2 or more arrays. And so you could have a 2D array of even larger, right? In the question it had was a 4 by 4. But in our scenario, we have a 2 by 6. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to number off uh, each part of this 2D array. And I'll show you guys how we would find the index of a particular value. Ali's done, yeah. Nice. Oh wait, Ali, are you done are you done this question? Are you done the magic squares question, or are you already done this, or are you done the happy or sad question? Yeah, because if you finish was it this one in was it less than 5 minutes? I think that's pretty impressive. But yeah, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have 0, 1. So in this 2D array, we have indexes representing the columns up here, and we have indexes representing the rows of the array, of this 2D array. And so if we wanted to find the value inside of this box right here, inside of this box, then we would have to use, we would have to call it like this. So we'd put the name, let's say our name, we named it array. In this case, we would have to call it 0, 0 because it is currently in the 0th column. As you can see here, this is the column, and it's currently in the 0th row, all right? And we can represent it like this. And another very important thing to know is that the first bracket, the number in the first bracket represents the rows, the number of rows. So basically basically this. So this would be one row, this would be another row. And then the second one represents the column. So column and row. So if you wanted to find this, let's say we wanted to find the number 7, we would go look in the 0th row and we look in the second column to find our number, all right? And so what if the 7 was over here? Oh, in that case, we will look in the first row, row number 1. Not this row, this is row 0, we will look in row number 1, and then we will look in the third column to determine the location of this number 7. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? Yeah. If you guys get it, let me know. If you don't get it, also let me know. Alright, if you want to contact me privately through email, that's also an option. But I just really wanted to explain to you guys the concept of a 2D array. Because this is very similar, but a bit different from a regular array. It's like you have an extra arrays. It's like multiple arrays stacked up upon each other. And it's like the columns are like representing the actual array. So picture it like this. If this was just a 1D array, like just a regular array, then we wouldn't have this part right here. We wouldn't have this part. Instead, it'd be like this. And then the column would basically just represent the normal indexes we want in our array. But now that we have multiple arrays, we have to also specify which array it is. So if it's the 0th array, then we use 0. If it's the first array, then we use 1. And if we have another array, we keep going, right? So basically, you look to see which array it's in, right? So we know that 7 is in the first array, so we look at the first array, and then the character or the number in the third index of the first array. Alright, and also before you guys leave, I wanted to share with you guys a Google form because in the summer we're going to be having some extra events, which is not Java related, but ran by the same organization I'm a part of, but maybe not by me. And these events will be like related to web development. We even have one person who is knowledgeable about neural networks, so an AI related a workshop could be set in stone. Maybe not, maybe. We're still deciding the logistics of that. But if you're interested in like attending more of these STEM related events by us, I definitely recommend you fill out this form, which I'm going to show you guys real quick. Which I'll send to you guys. Send link. So what I'm going to do is paste it into the stream chat, and if you guys are interested in like these sorts of events, um let me know, because that way it's easier for me to contact you guys if we do have something that comes up. For instance, in the fall we're having a community code day hackathon where we're like inviting a whole bunch of guests and speakers, and we're doing a whole lot of hands-on stuff, and a lot of coding workshops, right? And so if you guys are interested in that, you might want to be notified about it. Or if we have like another set of tutorials, maybe something like more advanced, and if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely include your contact information. That way I can contact you if you do have any questions about it, or if you're interested in it, you can easily contact me or someone else. All right. But yeah, we're already a little bit over time, so I'm going to end the stream for now. But just to reiterate on what we learned today, we reviewed on one-dimensional arrays, and then we also did some kind of preview to the 2D arrays as I've introduced right here, right? And in addition to that, we also worked through some coding problems. For instance, we worked through the J2, and we also worked through the J1 question. And then we were in the midst of doing this magic square question. The only issue was that we kind of ran out of time. So next time, or if you want to do this in your own time, you can do this magic square question. But next week, I will also be doing it for you guys too, all right? And then we'll also be reviewing or learning more about 2D arrays, okay? So yeah, that basically sums up everything we've done today. Again, if you have any questions, ask me, send me an email, and if you want to be notified of future events like this one, probably even better than this one because we have like super knowledgeable people teaching them, uh, fill out this form. Uh, yeah, that's basically the best way you can stay up to date. And yeah, hope you guys have a good summer, and I'll see you guys next week, same time. All right, bye.